It's approximately 5:45. Let's call the meeting to order. Roll call, Madam Deputy Clerk.
Board Member Desilme,
Here.
Board Member Biename,
Yeah.
Board Member Galvin,
Here.
Board Member Keys.
Here.
Chairman Joseph. Absent. You have a quorum, Vice.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Clerk. Now let all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's all please remain standing. A minute stand for the tragedy, the massacre that happened in Orlando for the victims and their family. A moment of silence. Thank you. Approval of minutes from May 10th meeting.
I need a motion.
I need a motion.
Oh, so moved.
Second.
We
All
have
in favor?
Aye.
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 all opposed. Item passes 5-0.
Thank you. Now, any items for review, the items review for action, actually it's 4 items.
Good
Madam
afternoon.
Director.
Billy's Pub 2, located at 732 Northeast 125th Street, is requesting a rehab grant to redo the interior, redo the bathrooms, floorings, windows and doors, roof repairs. They've also applied and will be using the Y Green funds for matching to finish the renovations. They have been in our community since 1997. Mr. Rubenstein is here to speak on that if you would like to talk to him. He will also, at a later date, do some renovations on the outside. There's an outside area with a turquoise tarp, so eventually that also will be done. The grant request that you have in front of you is for half of the total project cost, which is $72,266. The CRA Advisory Committee unanimously recommended approval of this grant. And if you go through the packet, again, you'll see the before and after pictures, the before and the future after, I should say, the future look. So as you can see in the before, it's somewhat dark inside. He's going to replace the windows and the doors. He's going to change the ceiling, bring new lighting, change the flooring. It is part of our renovation strategy of renovating the downtown corridor. So staff recommends approval. And Mr. Rubenstein is here in case you have any questions.
Okay, members, any comments, questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
The request is for 72,000,
Yes, sir.
representing 50% of the.
Yes, the lowest bidded amount was $144,532. So our grant guidelines require that, we cover 50% of the grant, which is still less than the $80,000 cap. So we are requesting approval of $72,266, which is 50% of the total project cost for now.
From
How much?
us.
From the CRA, yes.
How much money did you give them before?
We did not give them any money before. This is
Never?
Billy's Pub, no. I think there's a little confusion. That property has 3 owners.
Oh,
There's the
really?
Mocha Plaza.
No, I'm not talking about. I know.
No, I know, but
Yeah,
I'm
but
trying,
yeah.
because somebody just, Councilman
talking
Keys
about
had just
Billy
asked
Pub.
me. Yeah,
You never give
Billy's,
them money.
Billy's Pub is a separate owner,
I know.
separate person.
You never give them anything.
No.
That's fine. That's all
Okay,
I wanna
so go
know.
ahead. You were saying 3 different owners?
Yeah, that property has 3 different owners. Continental Uniform, separate owner. They own and operate their business. Billy's Pub, same thing. And the Mocha Plaza, where Mocha Cafe, the beauty salon, and where Cafe Creme is going to the separate owner.
It's
Also,
for-
that's Clark Reynolds.
I
So
got
it's
you.
3
School.
property owners.
3 different.
Beauty
Beauty
supply
school.
school. Okay, the beauty school. I'm sorry. So there's 3 owners on that one property.
Okay,
Okay.
go ahead, please.
Okay.
What-
First, Raj, you said that outside renovation was going to be done, but it's not at all part of this.
No, it's not. He's going to do it at a later date. This is just a renovation for the inside that he wants to do. And because when we met with him and we talked about the full renovation and what we were trying to do, he said that, and he's here, he can speak to that, but
Yes,
he
fine.
said that afterwards, then they're going to look at redoing the outside as well. But it's not going to be part of a grant, and he knows that he's capped at his request.
Could I speak to the applicant if you answer a couple questions? The first question is, are you doing anything with the outside? You keeping that a eating area outside? Patio.
Excuse me, can you put your name and address in for the
Sorry.
record, please?
It's not on.
Hold on, we need to
Police
use the
Pub
mic.
2,
All right.
732 Northeast 125th Street. We will be doing the patio. That will be our own money that we'll be doing. Obviously, it's operational now. We're not looking to the city for any of that money, though. That'll
Okay.
be out of our pockets.
Second question. Is that gonna continue to be a complete smoking establishment?
I believe it will be.
Okay.
We do have 10-ton smoke eaters in there. I know it's difficult to still clean everything out, but we did spend a lot of money of our own money to put those smoke eaters in there. Obviously, you have the option of eating outside where it's not going to be as smoky.
'Cause, we're giving money, I mean, I guess there's nothing we can do, we're trying to, enhance the downtown area and give money to rehab, but for non-smokers, it's really hard to go in because of the smoke. But I guess it's like nothing.
It depends on what time you go in. If you go in there during a 4 to 7 happy hour, there's very little smoke. It's pretty fresh. As I said, the smoke eaters do their job. It could get smoky if you're 2 o'clock in the morning and we're busy
be
at
there.
that time.
Are you open for lunch?
We are.
Okay.
We open at 11 a.m.
Pardon me?
I had lunch there today.
Oh, okay. I just was pointing that out because it would attract maybe more people if it wasn't as
Well, we think
smoky.
this renovation will be very helpful to us, and we want to move forward, obviously, with the city of North Miami as they go ahead with their redevelopment plan. I mean, I think the place will be absolutely beautiful when we're finished. It'll actually bring in, I think, a different type of clientele as well, or additional clientele. I just think with the city doing what they're planning on doing and where we're at with this, I think that it'll be a win-win for everybody.
I would like it to, but for non-smokers, it's difficult. So I'm just pointing that out. Okay, that's it.
Can I ask a question? So the outside cosmetics is gonna be different? Is there any way they could do, you see how the other part from Mocha all the way out to Cafe Cream, the new paint and everything? So there's no way it could be uniform by any chance. So you're gonna have.
I gave you a rendering, but you didn't
Okay.
include it in the package because it wasn't part of the
Of the-
grant.
Okay.
But I do have a rendering which I can forward to Rasha.
For the
It
exterior.
actually looks like a beer garden. It's done very nicely. We're going to redo the entire concrete and have that repainted because it's dyed red concrete, so we'll bring that back up. All new bar, all benches, and it'll really be nice when we're finished with it.
The smoking issue.
Well,
You
not
need,
only the
you got
smoking.
to do something with it.
It's hard to do. That would change the complexion of what we do. So, it's hard to tell somebody because
Yeah.
we don't meet the state requirements where we do more food over the 10% than we do alcohol.
Well, can you please work and see if at least it could match with, please. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
My pleasure.
We need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the application.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor by Board Member Galvin and seconded by Board Member Desilme. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes 4-0.
Before we move on, I forgot to acknowledge, we do have the mayor of Bay Harbor in the audience with us, Jordan Leonard. Please stand up and be recognized. Thank you. I know
He
his
is our
applicant.
next
I
applicant.
know. I just saw that. And I'm like, I was supposed to do that after the pledge, but welcome, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. Pediatric Therapy Center located at 1897 Northeast 146th Street is requesting a beautification grant. In addition, is requesting a waiver of the guidelines of up to $15,000 for the beautification grant to $20,000. I met with Mr. Leonard at his facility. It's a beautiful, huge 4,000 square foot. He provides speech therapy, occupational therapy to children. 90% of his clients are residents of the city of North Miami. Because of the conditions of his lease, he is responsible for all the renovations and so on and so forth. It is extremely warm in there. The ACs are old and one of them is out already. He needs a security cameras around, and he also needs to renovate, get the inside in terms of painting, putting new signage, and so on. So when I met with Mr. Leonard and I observed everything, if he had applied just for the $15,000 grant, he wouldn't have been able to finish the project in terms of painting the inside and finishing up completely. You know, if you're gonna do a complete renovation for the children, might as well do a good job. So the total project cost is still $28,425, and Mr. Leonard is responsible for the overages, which is $8,425. I presented this proposal to the advisory board. They recommended approval of both the waiver of the maximum grant guidelines to $20,000 and also approval of the grant. Mr. Leonard is here if you have any questions, in addition to what I've just explained.
Can I ask you one question? Have we
Sure.
waived this grant before, or that requirement before?
We have waived grant guidelines for Cafe Creme, for
Okay.
Pollo Tropical, and so on and so forth.
Perfect,
It
okay.
has, it is the board's at the board's discretion. As a
Okay.
staff person, I'm just telling you that if the renovations that he wants to do is great and wonderful, but if you're gonna do a job, let's do a great job so that the kids can see the improvements and the parents can see the improvements.
Okay. Members, discussion? Ready for
I'll make a motion to approve the item.
second?
We have a motion on the floor by Board Member Galvin and seconded by Board Member Desorme. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes 4-0.
Okay. Next application is from Good Bear LLC, located at 12567 Northeast 7th Avenue. This is also Mr. Leonard. He just recently became the managing director of that property. It was in his family for several years. It was left unoccupied for a long time. He now is coming to us for a renovation application. He needs to do ADA compliance, complete demolition. There are pictures of the inside. As you can tell, the inside was just left, you know, in disarray. They never took care of it or maintained it. They didn't even turn on the AC, so the inside is needs to be completely redone. He already has a tenant, and the caveat for this grant and for the tenant is that he needs to have the property ready by October 15th for the tenant to move in. And one of our requirement as part of a rehab grant is that if your property is vacant, you need to be able to have a tenant within a year after you've done the renovation. So this is a very good thing. Yes, sir, you had a question?
No, you
okay.
done?
Okay, the total project, the lowest bidded amount is $101,300. The grant request would be for $50,650, which is 50% of the total amount. Again, Mr. Leonard is here if you have any questions or comments.
Mr. Leonard, you're trying to get all of our money in one shot, huh? No, I don't have any question. Okay, so this one is that's the rehab.
Yeah, that's the complete rehab.
Okay.
So this
And
property has been
that's
in.
down the street from
That's
here.
great, right there on Northeast 7th Avenue. And like I said, he has a tenant. He gave us, he just got a lease signed. So the only caveat to the lease being executed, of course, is that they can move in by October 15th.
Okay.
And I think Mr. Leonard has already presented the plans for permitting and so on and so forth, because he is very eager to get that property occupied, and so are we.
Awesome. Any question, members? Motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the item.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor by Board Member Galvin, seconded by Board Member Bieneme. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes 4-0.
Okay. All right, the next item is the Northwest 7th Avenue CRA officer. About 2 meetings ago, the Vice Mayor had brought up the conversation of having possibly replicating what we've done so successfully in the downtown corridor, having a CRA officer in a specific area of 119th and Northwest 7th Avenue. Major Beige is here to explain the areas that they will be covering and the hours. This is for a total of $44,506. This is from once you approve it to the end of the fiscal year, which is September 30th.
Whoa. So how much is it for a year?
It's for the downtown officer, the budget was about $127,000. It's with benefits and so on and so forth for the year.
Okay, that's my problem. Well, it's my item, but the concern I had from the last one with this one also, I thought we were under the impression we were gonna get our officers off duty. So why isn't, I'm saying, that is this a new, is it creating a new position?
No.
No, it's not. It is an off-duty position like you had spoken about. The rate is $34 an hour, which is the off-duty rate. $30 goes to the officer, $4 goes to the city as an administrative fee and to cover FICA and MICA taxes on the $30. So it's $34 an hour times the amount of hours times the amount of days or amount of officers you have. If you look at the breakdown on the bottom of your paper, you can see that there's 70 hours of actual patrolling time with about 7 hours of administrative work that needs to go into prepare the paperwork, the timesheets, and everything else. 77 hours a week, and the rate is $34. There's 17 weeks, so we take 17 times 34 times 77. It gives you the $44,506. That's a flat rate. There's no medical costs, there's no pension costs, there's no benefits in there. It is just a flat hourly rate for off-duty officers. You would pay the same rate as Whole Foods or anywhere else that hires an off-duty officer.
Thank you.
So we are asking the board to approve this expense at $44,506.
Mr. Chairman, if there are no other questions, I'll make the motion to approve.
Yes, sir, well, he's second.
We have a motion on the, we have a motion on the floor by Board Member Galvin, seconded by Board Member Desorme.
No, correction, Bien-Aimé.
Oh, Bien-Aimé, okay, excuse me.
Yeah, he spoke, so.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes 4-0.
Thank you. Now, I think it's CRA, attorney's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do not have a report because the executive director is going to cover the items that had passed, or the director, excuse me, is that your title? Will cover the items with the county that we're working on. Thank you.
Thank you. The executive director/director reports.
Yes, Mr. Chair. We have been working diligently with the county in terms of negotiating our extension. We've provided all the information they needed, and we're now waiting for them to confirm that we will be on the Prosperity Committee's July meeting for review and approval. In the meantime, we're still meeting with the Deputy Mayor, Mr. Marquez, to finalize all the details for the, to review the negotiations and so on. One thing that happened at the June 7th, I think we've discussed it a few times, is that Commissioner Levine Cava had presented some legislation that would eventually come into our new interlocal. It was approved at the June 7th commission meeting with some changes, with some last-minute caveats. I will bring up, some of them, and the county has already informed us that they're going to incorporate it into our interlocal. It doesn't really, as far as I know, it doesn't really have any material effect, because most of the stuff that they have in the legislation are things that we already do. We've already discussed with you that they are going to require a commissioner on the board.
Two commissioners.
Two commissioners
Oh.
and or a designee and a representative that either lives or works within the CRA.
So wait, so a commissioner and a representative, or two commissioner and a representative? Which one?
It's a designee. The way they kind of make it so that
Well,
it's
I mean,
either or.
either
Either
or, but
or.
it's gonna be the commissioner to designate someone, right? Or no?
It's the way they have it listed, read is that they will have, they will appoint a county commissioner or their designee to serve as commissioners.
Or the designate, okay, exactly.
Additionally, someone, a member who reside or is engaged in a business within the area of operation of the Community Redevelopment Agency.
And that
To serve as commissioners.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not two commissioners, so it's one and then a resident.
Or
Yes.
business owner.
Or
Well,
business owner.
they say a business owner,
Yeah.
yeah.
Two people.
Okay.
Interesting.
Another thing that we were able to effectuate the change was some of the requirements they had is on contract requirements. Any grant we gave or a contract we gave of $200,000 or more had several community business enterprise, small business enterprise, requirements that they needed to meet. Living wage, we were able to argue that, you know, if you provide a grant to a small business as a rehab, not everybody can provide a living wage and so on. So they increased it to 500,000. So now it's any contract, any grant that a CRA provide, which is 500,000 or more, they would be required to provide some kind of living wage, community small business enterprise from the county. They need to have certain requirements. In addition, also the same thing for the community benefits. They kind of, at first it was 200,000 for rehab. We were able to get them to put in for new construction, and to also say that we can somewhat dictate how the community benefit is written. For instance, we already have it, when we did the Pollo Tropical, we had the agreement in our contract that they would need to hire 30 people from the community and so on and so forth. So we want to make sure that we're able to make the community benefits more directly reflective of what it is we need for our community.
Oh, good.
So those were things that we did. Ethics requirement, all advisory board members and board members are required, appointed and reappointed, are required to go through ethics training. Lastly,
Question.
Yes, sir.
Remember at the, when this mentioned, I think I asked you, since we already have training covered by the League of Cities as elected official, does that cover that, or that will be a separate training? That is crazy.
the Commission on Ethics,
Mr. Attorney?
My understanding from the discussions that we had with the Commissioner's Chief of Staff and others, it's a separate training that's
That
more
is
geared
crazy.
for CRA.
yeah, it must be conducted by the Commission on Ethics and Public Trust. And originally, they had a minimum of 4 hours.
Mhm.
They removed that, and they just say you need to go through the training.
Oh, so they doesn't specify how long
How
the
many
training.
hours, but it does say who needs to conduct it.
Crazy. Okay.
So, normally, once the mayor signs it, it's effective as of June 17th. You know, we haven't heard anything otherwise, so we're operating on the basis that this will be,
This will be
incorporated into our interlocal. We've sent them the draft, and we're waiting on the county to send it back to us for us to review.
And before we move off of that subject, we may have to, one of the, I guess, points that is coming up is the issue of a 50% CRA that'll be in the interlocal. Once we get to that point, Deputy Mayor's out of the country for a couple of weeks, but when he gets back, I'll be meeting with him directly. We may have to bring an item back to the board to say, give us permission to actually move forward with this, because what you approved before is the 95%. So I
Okay,
just
so
wanna
how
make
did
you-
the 50 come into talking
Just,
for
it's
the
in,
90?
it's actually one of the parameters that have been proffered as their new, one of their new rules. So,
And they voted on okay, here's my problem. So they voted on something where they telling us what this body did. Well, I know they could do on some basis, but on that particular issue, which I don't have a problem with, but are you saying that the county is telling us that we need to do it a certain way?
they are making recommendations right now. It's part of the negotiations process.
Yeah, but
So
what
they're
if we
not-
don't select it?
Then they will move forward with what we have
Oh,
presented.
okay, well, that sounds, because it was like they were directing us to vote, and we gotta be careful with that. If that's what it is, Mr. Attorney, that's what it is, and I would have a concern with that. I mean, if this body choose to go one direction, that's one thing, but if it's something that they are directing us to do, we just need to be clear so
May I
that
say
Well,
something?
we could
Can I
be-
comment on the
Okay.
Go ahead.
the legal
Yes.
process first, perhaps? Because just to back up, this board voted on a plan amendment
Yes,
and a financing methodology that
Mhm.
you wanted to use going forward. The interlocal agreement you have with the county will need to be approved by the county, will also
Yes.
need to be approved by the city council and this
Exactly.
board again. So there is another time when this is gonna come before you. So we're involved in a negotiation right now.
Sure.
So the county's sitting down with us. We've provided them with substantial comments to their draft agreement, including things like the milestones we've talked about and other language changes for our benefit. They're gonna sit down with the executive director, the director, and myself again, and they're gonna tell us what they wanna see in that agreement, whether they've agreed to these changes and what your executive director is saying, based on this new legislation, they may come to us and say, we don't agree with your approved financing strategy. We want you to do something else. And so at that point, he's saying we would come back to you, and you either say okay or no, with the understanding if we don't do what they want us to do, they may not recommend approval of the item as it goes forward to the county commission.
Well, that's fine, and I'll let Board Member Keys speak, but this is a political body. We just need to know what hands are being played.
Exactly.
Because I
exactly.
don't have no problem for us to do what we need to do, but the way it was stated, it was like they were telling us that we need to do it a 50-50, and then they'll come back to us where we didn't have any choice.
My
Right.
understanding is they have
But
not told us
They've
that.
not
I
told us
got
that.
you.
It's
No.
just-
Okay.
It's part of the
I
negotiation.
just want to make sure.
But I just wanted
Thank
you to be aware that if
Mhm.
that change is made, we will be coming back to you to get your.
Yeah, and then we
Of
had three
course.
different proposals,
Right.
so we will be selecting one and say, okay, this one we didn't, they don't like, what about this one?
Right.
Not necessarily that.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you, Board Member Keys.
I would just like to say that, when we say we want 95%, that means we want 95% of all the TIF, and we're taking that away from the county. So if the county does not have to approve our CRA because we're taking money out of the county's mouth. If they want to only give 50% as opposed to, to get 50% as opposed to 5%, I'd say that's their right, and that's part of the negotiations. It's their money that they're giving to us, so we have to look at it that way.
Yes.
Isn't that correct?
That is correct, and the 95%, again, is only from the east side. Okay, you would still have, what we've proposed to the county is a 95%, is what we have now, which is that we get 95% of the TIF from the entire CRA redevelopment area, and we give back at the end of the year all of the TIF from the west side. When the county says we're thinking about a 50%, it's 50% from the entire CRA redevelopment area, and we don't give them anything back.
Right now we're giving.
So those were the two models that you looked at when you voted on this previously. But in any event, you know, it is a negotiation, and you know, unless we get approved by the end of September, the CRA will sunset.
This is, well, my concern to that is, I don't have a problem with us changing the method of how we do it. It's the fact that it was, well, it sounded to me like the county was telling us, this is what you must do. If that is the case, we just want to know. I want to know because if we directed staff one thing to negotiate, I assume that's what they are doing. So I don't want to feel like they're going to the county doing whatever that they want to do. That's where my,
Right, but we're negotiating. They
We're
haven't, they haven't
Okay.
told us anything with respect to that yet. They gave us a draft document. Myself and staff and your consultant from RMA sat down. We read the document. We decided on what changes we wanted to make. I drafted those. We reviewed them, and now we've sent those to the county. So anything
waiting
that,
for them.
for them to review and then negotiate with us. So anything that has to be done with that agreement is coming back to you.
Yes. we know.
So we will be presenting that to you once the county has said, we agree with this, we don't agree with this, this is what we want. We'll come back and you'll say either we agree, we don't agree, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
As part of our interlocal, the current interlocal, we get audited by the Office of Budget and Management. Last time the county came and audited us was in 2012 since the inception of the CRA to 2011. The new legislation now has directed it to the Office of the Inspector General, and they have come and they are now auditing us from 2011 to 2015, which is normal auditing, and we are working with them. Actually, one of the auditors was supposed to be here tonight, but she was not able to make it. They will be here for the next few months and going through the grants and everything else from 2011 to 2015. So we just wanted to let you know. At the
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
through you to Rasha, when was the last time that OIG inspection or audit was done?
Well, they've never audited us, meaning CRAs. Normally it would be the Office of Budget and Management, and they came in 2012. Now with the new legislation, it says the Office of the Inspector General will be the one that will be auditing us, and it is going to be in our new interlocal. So when they came and said we're ready to audit you,
So they have not yet started
They
their
s-
audit?
They started this month, like 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Any idea how long that audit will last?
They said a few months,
They said 4 to 5 months.
but that's because they're not here 40 hours a week. She's here 1 day a week. She also audits the school board. She has several areas that she audits.
Yeah.
So she's only here 1 day a week, pretty much.
What was interesting about the entrance meeting was they said they were kind of auditing us because we're going through the CRA process at the county. So they just wanted to make sure we're in compliance. But then I asked the question, well, when are you going to be done? Because we'll be approved
Right.
prior to 4 or 5 months.
Right.
And they were just like, oh, well, that's the time frame it'll take. And I'm like,
Unless they know
Well,
something we don't know.
And that's-
no,
we-
no, I
we
think this is
haven't
just
yet-
literally routine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we haven't yet been
Yeah.
approved. So just
Exactly.
interesting that they would even start
Start.
the audit before we're even approved. Are they that sure we're gonna be approved, or are they here looking at other things?
And like
Only
I,
time will tell.
yeah, and then like I said, they're looking at from 2011 to 2015, and we haven't been audited in a while. Actually, the legislation before had said we would need to be audited annually, and I think they took that out because it would be too much. There are several CRAs,
Right.
not just in Dade County. So we're the first one, they told us, and then afterwards, they'll be going to
Okay.
other CRAs.
That's
So,
it?
lastly, at the advisory board meeting, the board and the chair is here, Mr. McDermott, he can elaborate. They voted to recommend that we review the grant guidelines and procedures. This is something that we have discussed that we would be doing, but really it's because of the issues that we've dealt recently with the contractors. An applicant comes in, they get the lowest bidded amount. What's happened a few times is either the contractor gives you the lowest bid and it's really not the lowest bid because afterwards he starts making several change orders, or there's always something happening, or the applicant is not able to pay and we have to intervene. So they asked us to look at best practices and see if there's another way to streamline it. One thing that the executive director and I have been talking about is actually having somebody who has that construction experience that's able to do like a pre-bid meeting with the applicant and the contractors to make sure that what they're actually getting is appropriate. The stuff that you don't see is when I get a bid, sometimes it's 200,000 for one and the rest is like 100,000, and you see there's a huge gap. Or somebody, they applied, they got a bid to knock down a wall, but no electrical, no plumbing, and I know laymen that you are required to have certain permitting and things like that. So it delays the applicant from one, being able to apply in a timely manner, but two, getting the project done. So they recommended that, I discussed with you and we look at not only revising the guidelines, but finding another way to make it easier for the applicant when they're applying for these type of
Can I ask a
grants,
question?
as we're redeveloping the downtown
Yes,
in the
ma'am, go
CRA.
ahead.
Right now, we just gave some pretty large grants we have in the past. Are we vetting that the applicants do in fact have the matching funds available to finish the job?
Well, again, it's a reimbursement, so when they pay the applicant, when they pay the contractor, they have to show that, let's say the project is 50,000, they have to show that they paid the 50,000, and I reimburse them the 50%, which is 25,000. They have to provide a release of lien from the contractor, canceled checks, front and back, the approved inspection from I work with the building official, that they've passed the inspection and so
Okay.
on and so forth.
Okay.
Because it is, it's a liability, we make sure, but what has happened is where the contractor says, well, no, I'm only painting 3 walls. And, you're a business owner and how can you deal with a contractor when you're trying to run a business and you don't know what measures that you have? So, and I've had to help out a few times in that respect and ask the building official to step in a couple of times as well. So they're just asking for us to consider that when we're reviewing, grant guidelines for the new fiscal year moving forward. So just wanted to let you know.
That's a good question, because I was gonna ask you,
Mhm.
I don't know if you could do that. Is it possible you could, like, how banks give you, when you're going for a loan, they give you an approval letter? Is there somehow you could mainstream to find out if they have the funds available? Or, I know it's on a reimbursement
I mean,
basis.
well, the reimbursement basis protects
Us, okay.
financially, but I guess we could ask for a proof of
Statements?
funds, like a
Yeah,
bank certification or
something.
something.
Because if the person have $20 in the bank, and they say, I'm gonna pay, 50% of 100,000, and we go give it to them.
And then that's one of the reasons why we were able to make sure that the Y Green was, they know they can use the
Yeah.
Y Green as a match. I know I get the letter from Y Green saying
Th-
that they were
that-
approved
that
for that
would work.
match.
Yeah, that would work.
And so on and so forth. But then again, they're taking the risk because they're the ones taking out the permit.
Yeah.
If they don't give us the proper documentation, they won't get reimbursed. So the risk is still on them. I don't know how, if you think about it as a business owner, you're asking me to show proof that I have the money. I may have the money, I borrow it from a friend, like
That's
a few days
fine.
before the payment
Mhm.
is due versus when I'm applying. So,
Right.
there are
It
certain
depends on how you wanna-
movable things. But the way we have it right now, I can tell you, and the attorney can speak to that, we don't reimburse you unless we have canceled checks, the inspections have been done, the project is done, and also the contractor has provided a release of lien. That tells me that he got paid, he's done,
Okay.
he has been paid for his work, and he's not gonna come back and sue the property owner or sue us or for anything for non-payment. And the canceled check shows front and back. It's not like you give me the cover of the check and then you told the gentleman to hold it. It's a canceled check, it went through the bank, it's been cleared, so now we can process it for reimbursement. So, but it's really the time, because for a business, it's speed to market. How quickly can you get the rehab done? How quickly can you get the business up and running? And when you're dealing with contractors that are changing quotes or, giving you the lowest bid, it may not work,
Gotcha.
okay?
Thank you. Any public comments at this time? Public hearing open? It's closed? Yes, sir.
I was just gonna make, in addition to that update, give the update on our trip to Los Angeles.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Just for the sake of the board, for the board, Memorial Day Monday, myself, the deputy manager, and the vice mayor traveled to Los Angeles and met with a group from the real estate Shanghai Real Estate Development Federation. A group of about 22, 25 representatives from Shanghai that manage real estate funds that are very, very interested in investing in our Chinatown, and became aware of it from the previous trip. We actually had a great presentation, follow-up, and I believe they'll be coming to the city the end of July. So just wanted to make everybody aware that we are making very great progress on this Chinatown initiative.
In addition, we did put out the RFQ for the master plan design. We put it out to bid, and the closing date is July 5th. And so we are somewhat on schedule to have the design consultant and, to be ready to do the community meetings and so on. So we can have a master plan design by November, December, so that we can follow.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any old business? New business? Motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
6:23.